The moment I knew my marriage was over wasn't when I found the messages. It was when he raised a glass at our 10th anniversary party and thanked my assistant for keeping his world organized. The room laughed. She blushed. And he looked at her longer than he ever looked at me. I remember standing there in our dining hall, the same house we bought when we had nothing but debt and hope, watching the two of them exchange a glance that lasted 1 second too long. Everyone else saw a harmless joke. I saw betrayal breathing. Her name was Lila. 26. Sharp. Polished. Always 2 steps ahead. I hired her myself 3 years earlier because she reminded me of me. Hungry. Focused. Loyal. I was wrong about one of those things. That night, after the guests left and the lights dimmed, I found his phone glowing on the kitchen counter. A message popped up before I even touched it. Tonight was perfect. Soon we won't have to hide. My hands went cold. I didn't scream. I didn't cry. I didn't throw anything. I simply understood something very clearly. They weren't just having an affair. They were planning something. And whatever it was, it involved the company. The estate. The assets we built together from nothing. He thought he was replacing me in his life. What he didn't know. I was about to remove him from everything else. And I wasn't going to do it loudly. I was going to do it legally. The next morning, I made him breakfast. I kissed his cheek. I told Lila we had a big investor meeting coming up. And I began watching. When betrayal enters your house, you don't panic. You observe. I started noticing small changes. Documents being forwarded without copying me. Late meetings that weren't on the calendar. Bank notifications that didn't look familiar. Then I found it. A new LLC. Registered 3 months ago. Under her name. Funded through consulting expenses from our company account. He wasn't just cheating. He was siphoning. My husband, the man who once told me he'd protect me from everything, was quietly moving pieces off the board. The house. The vineyard property. The trust fund for our son. Everything was being positioned. But here's what they forgot. I was the one who structured the business from day one. Every contract. Every ownership clause. Every protection layer. They assumed I was distracted. Emotional. Blind. I hired a forensic accountant without telling anyone. Quiet woman. Ruthless mind. Within 2 weeks she confirmed what I suspected. They planned to accuse me of financial mismanagement. Push me out. Transfer controlling shares. Then file for divorce once I was legally weakened. It was neat. Calculated. Almost impressive. Almost. But they underestimated one thing. I built this empire. And I knew exactly where it could collapse. For the next month, I played the role perfectly. Concerned wife. Busy CEO. Clueless partner. I let him think he was winning. I let her think she was smarter. Every email they deleted, I recovered. Every transfer they disguised, I traced. I even encouraged his new expansion idea, which conveniently required moving more assets into that secret LLC. The more confident they became, the sloppier they got. Affairs create arrogance. Arrogance creates mistakes. One afternoon, I walked into my office and overheard her whispering, "Once the shares transfer, she won't even see it coming." I stepped inside with a smile. "See what coming?" I asked lightly. Her face drained of color. He laughed it off. Said I was being paranoid. That word again. Paranoid. Funny how often women are called that right before they're proven right. That night, I printed every document. Saved every recording. Backed up every financial trail. Then I did the one thing they never expected. I filed first. Not just for divorce. For fraud. For breach of fiduciary duty. For asset manipulation. I didn't confront them. I summoned them. To court. The day of the hearing, he walked in confident. She sat behind him, dressed in white like innocence could be worn. He thought I was emotional. Messy. Unprepared. The judge began reviewing preliminary motions. Then my attorney stood. Calm. Precise. Your Honor, we would like to present evidence of coordinated financial diversion. The screen lit up. Emails. Transfers. Voice notes. Their secret business plan. The courtroom shifted. He stopped smiling. She stopped breathing. Every disguised consulting payment traced back. Every hidden document recovered. Every forged board recommendation exposed. The judge's voice was steady when she spoke. This appears to be a deliberate attempt to redirect marital and corporate assets. He tried to speak. Tried to explain. But evidence doesn't argue. It sits there. Unmovable. By the time we recessed for lunch, his empire wasn't shaking. It was collapsing. And I hadn't raised my voice once. The final ruling came 2 weeks later. Full forensic audit. Immediate freeze on their LLC. Reversal of transferred shares. Personal liability for fraudulent intent. She lost her professional license. He lost executive authority. And because of the prenuptial clauses he once insisted on, thinking they protected him, I retained majority control. The house. The properties. The company. He walked out of court pale. Reporters were waiting. Not for scandal. For a statement. He said nothing. Because what could he say? That he tried to replace the woman who built everything? That he gambled an empire for ego? Lila avoided eye contact. The same woman who once scheduled my meetings now couldn't schedule her own defense. They didn't just lose money. They lost reputation. Trust. Future partnerships. Investors pulled away from him overnight. No one wants to back a man exposed in open court. And as I stepped into my car, I realized something. This wasn't revenge. This was correction. The house felt different that night. Quieter. Not broken. Just honest. He packed slowly. Tried once to talk. I made a mistake. I looked at him calmly. No. You made a plan. There's a difference. A mistake is emotional. A plan is intentional. He left with 2 suitcases. She left with nothing. The board reinstated me publicly. The statement was simple. Leadership remains unchanged. But everyone knew what it meant. I wasn't the betrayed wife. I was the woman who outmaneuvered betrayal. Within weeks, industry articles covered the case. Not the affair. The fraud. The legal precision. Investors praised the transparency. Stock value stabilized. Quiet respect replaced gossip. One evening, I received a message from a competitor CEO. Handled with class. Impressive strategy. That word stayed with me. Strategy. They thought I'd react emotionally. Instead, I responded structurally. And that made all the difference. Months later, he requested one last meeting. We met in a neutral office. No anger. No shouting. Just reality. I never thought you'd go that far, he admitted. I smiled softly. You never thought I'd look that closely. He thought love made me blind. But love built the system that protected me. Before he left, he asked quietly. Was any of it revenge? I shook my head. No. It was accountability. People think losing money is the worst outcome. It isn't. Losing credibility is. He can rebuild wealth. But rebuilding trust? That takes longer. As for her, she moved cities. Different industry. Different name online. But court records don't disappear. They underestimated the paper trail. And they underestimated me. That was their real mistake. A year later, the company is stronger. The estate is secure. And I sit in the same dining room where it all began. The chandelier still glows. But the air feels lighter. Sometimes people ask me how I stayed so calm. The truth? Because panic destroys strategy. And betrayal reveals character. They tried to build a secret life using what I created. Instead, they watched it disappear in a single courtroom afternoon. Not because I destroyed them, but because they tried to destroy me first. And when you build something with integrity, it knows how to defend itself. I lift a glass now, not to revenge, but to clarity, to strength, to never underestimating the woman who built the empire in the first place. And this time, no one is laughing.